For years, truth had been a stranger, an elusive shadow living between whispered conversations, broken memories, and doors that were always kept locked. But everything changed the morning a plain, unmarked envelope slid silently under a doorway, landing with a weight far heavier than paper. The envelope looked ordinary, yet it carried an energy so unsettling that the air around it seemed to tighten. When it was opened, only one sentence sat in the center like a wound that refused to heal. The life you were given was never the life you were meant to live. Those words froze the world, the room, the heartbeat. Everything felt suspended in a moment that didn't belong to time. A soft wind drifted through the open window as if the universe itself exhaled, waiting for what would come next. Camera slow, zoom, soft tremble in the soundtrack. The letter contained no sender's name, only an old location, scribbled in faded ink, a place connected to a past that had always felt incomplete. The journey that followed didn't feel like a choice. It felt like fate pulling with invisible hands. Moving toward that unfamiliar place felt like walking straight into a memory that had never been lived, yet carried a weight impossible to ignore. African proverbs whispered through the mind like ancestral echoes. No matter how long the night lasts, the truth rises with the sun. The sun hid behind clouds, casting long shadows that stretched like fingers reaching into the unknown. Every step felt like stepping into deeper waters of a secret long buried. Music, low drums, heartbeat underlay. The old settlement appeared quietly on the horizon, aged rooftops, sun-kissed soil, and silence thick enough to hear thoughts echo. At the center stood an ancient tree, its branches wide and heavy, like it had watched countless destinies unfold beneath it. On a weathered bench under that tree sat a second envelope, placed carefully as though someone had expected this very arrival. The handwriting matched the first letter, trembling, urgent, haunted. It read, "Go where your story began, not where it was rewritten." The wind stirred again, carrying the scent of dust and something older, something forgotten. The air felt charged with meaning, as if the truth itself was breathing. Camera pushing, soft piano, distant thunder rumble. Walking deeper into the settlement revealed narrow pathways, quiet homes, and a strange familiarity that tugged at the soul like a half-remembered dream. The silence wasn't empty, it was full, thick with the weight of things unsaid. Something about the place felt like it recognized the presence walking through it. The letter's directions pointed toward an old structure at the edge of the settlement, its wooden door cracked and faded. Inside, dust floated like forgotten stories rising to greet the light. On a wooden table, untouched by time, rested a small locked box. Carved on top in the same urgent handwriting were the words, "To open this, speak what was taken from you." For a moment, everything stood still, air, heartbeat, thought. Then slowly, as if pulled by instinct rather than memory, a name slipped into the air, trembling, unsure. The box clicked open. The sound echoed too loudly in the quiet room, like a key turning in a long-locked past. Inside were two items, an old photograph and a folded letter. But before either could be touched, a cold gust slammed the door shut behind, making the dust tremble in the sunlight. Music crackles into silence, then a single rising note of tension. The photograph was face down, the letter was brittle with age. The first line sliced deeper than anything before. Your life was shaped by fear of losing you, fear of losing the truth, fear of losing everything. It explained that somewhere far beyond this settlement lived a man who carried answers, stolen by lies woven through years of silence. He didn't know the real story. He didn't even know the full truth existed. And now, finally, the path to him had opened. But the letter also warned something darker. Not everyone wants the truth found. Mid-story, CTA, following YouTube's new update. If you're watching this far, pause and comment. Should she chase the truth even if it destroys everything she knows? Your comment decides how the next twist unfolds. Beat drop, camera close-up, silence, returning to the items. The photograph was lifted. The hands holding it froze. The image wasn't shocking because of the person in IT, but because of what was written behind it. The back read, a date, a place, a message. And the message was terrifying in its urgency. Find him before they find you. The room suddenly felt smaller, the air colder, the shadows darker. Footsteps echoed outside the buildings, low, heavy, deliberate. Someone had followed, someone who wanted the truth buried, someone who had been waiting for this exact moment. Music, heartbeat speeds up. Wind shakes the window frame. The letter's last lines tightened the suspense like a rope around the moment. Your real father carries a past that ended in fire, and your freedom lives in the ashes he left behind. The walls seemed to pulse with the weight of those words. Fire, ashes, freedom. What did it mean? Why was the past described as something that ended, not faded? And who were they? The footsteps outside stopped. Total silence. A hand slowly gripped the door handle. Dust danced in the sunlight like fragments of hidden truth rising. The heartbeat of the soundtrack thundered through the room. Something was coming. Something that had waited years. Something that knew the truth was finally waking. And just as the door began to turn, camera crash zoom. Music cuts out. Screen fades to black. The moment the door handle twisted, silence swallowed the entire room, thick, suffocating, almost alive. The old wooden door creaked open slowly, revealing nothing but a long shadow stretching across the dusty floor, like a dark hand reaching forward. Heartbeat sound intensifies. Camera slow push-in. The figure didn't step in, didn't speak. It simply stood there, watching, waiting. The photograph shook slightly between trembling fingers. The message, "Find him before they find you," echoing louder than any footsteps. Every instinct screamed to run, yet the weight of the truth anchored the moment in place. Then, with a sudden gust of wind, the shadow shifted and the door slammed shut again, as though someone outside had been pulled away. The silence that followed was unnerving, too still, too deliberate. Soft wind, low drums. Something or someone wanted this search to continue, but also wanted it controlled. Clutching the photograph tightly, the journey moved forward, guided only by the date and location scribbled on the back. The road was long, stretching across wide landscapes where the air carried stories older than memory. Every mile felt heavier, as if invisible eyes watched from behind trees, from rooftops, from abandoned paths. African wisdom whispered through the mind again. The child who seeks truth must be ready to meet shadows. The farther the journey went, the louder the shadows seemed to breathe. A quiet, abandoned bus station appeared ahead, a place untouched by time. A worn-out map, pinned to a wall, held a red mark exactly where the photograph's date pointed. Someone had left it there intentionally. Someone wanted the journey to continue, but not freely. Camera close-up, tension music rises. A long, narrow road stretched from the station into deep countryside. As footsteps followed it, the sky grew heavier, clouds swallowing the sun, until daylight dimmed into a gray, moody dusk. The air vibrated with an unspoken warning. Halfway down the path, an old milestone appeared, with a message carved by hand. The truth you seek is rooted in fire. That same word again, fire. Ashes passed. Why did every clue burn with the same imagery? The wind picked up, swirling dust around the milestone, as if it were guarding something beneath. Kneeling beside it, fingers brushed the soil and touched a metal box buried shallowly beneath the earth. Inside, a burnt piece of cloth lay folded beside another letter. The letter's handwriting trembled even more than the previous ones, as though written by shaking hands. "He didn't abandon you. He was forced into silence." The words carved a deeper crack into the foundation of everything known. Forced into silence. By who and why? The letter continued. "Before you meet him, you must understand what was taken from him." A location was written at the bottom, an old building at the edge of a quiet village nearby. Music shifts to low, haunting strings. Upon reaching the village, it became clear something wasn't right. Doors were shut, windows covered, and silence hung like a thick blanket. The building from the letter stood alone, its walls charred black, as though it had once survived a terrible fire. The closer the steps moved toward it, the stronger the scent of old smoke grew. Inside, fragments of broken wood and burnt paper littered the floor. The entire place felt like a memory turned to ash. On a half-burnt table lay a single object, untouched by fire, a metal recorder. Pressing play brought a crackling voice to life, shaky, urgent, breathless. "If you are hearing this, they are closer than you think." The voice paused, coughing, shaky breaths filling the silence. "I lost everything because I tried to reveal the truth. I lost the one person I loved because I refused to lie." Another pause, fear woven into every second. "Your real father didn't walk away. They took him, they buried him in lies. And now, they want to bury you too." Music shifts, deep bass, heartbeat pounding. Suddenly, footsteps echoed outside the burnt building. Not one set, multiple, fast. Determined, they were back. Or maybe they had never left. Without thinking, instinct took over, slipping into the shadows. The door burst open as figures stepped inside wearing heavy coats and silent presence, people who had been following the trail from the beginning. Their voices were muffled but cold, camera over the shoulder, shadows moving. "Check everything," one said. "The truth must not leave this place." Holding breath, waiting in absolute silence, the figures searched the room with ruthless precision. One of them lifted the recorder and smashed it against the floor. Another kicked through ashes, checking for hidden clues. Their movements were sharp, practiced like they had done this many times. Then one voice spoke words that iced the blood. "The father is awake. We must find the child first." The moment they left, the world felt like it snapped back into motion. Every step out of that burnt building felt like stepping through danger itself. But the final clue remained, a final location printed inside the recorder's shattered battery cover, a hospital, far away, a place where truth waited alive. The journey to the hospital was a blur of fear, urgency, and racing heartbeats. The corridors were dimly lit, silent, and empty except for the faint echo of footsteps. The room number from the clue was at the very end of a long hallway. Approaching it felt like moving through thick water, slow, heavy, overwhelming. Camera slow zoom, trembling music. The door creaked open. A figure sat by the window, back turned, sunlight outlining the shape like a memory brought to life. The air stilled, the world paused. No words were spoken. The presence alone spoke louder than any voice ever could. But before anything could be said, a sharp alarm blared. The lights flickered. Footsteps thundered toward the room. The same figures had arrived. The truth had finally been found, and so had the danger. As the door burst open and the world flipped into chaos, one truth remained louder than fear itself. Freedom wasn't in finding him. It was in surviving what came after.